Hello, welcome to the Claret and Blue podcast. He's having a sip of drink already and he's not ready for the show. It's Matt Kendrick back from his summer break for the Claret and Blue podcast, Villa's first home game of the season. Matt, you do the home game, so you're back. How are you? How's things? How's it been?
Oh, got me notifications just started going off already.
He's back, everyone. He's back.
What a way to announce my return. Yeah, I'm all right. You just caught me sipping a can of Sprite Zero sugar. So I think I need to trade it in for something a bit stronger and a bit to celebrate. So it was brilliant, wasn't it? It was
good, yeah.
I love the fact that we've just cancelled out our goal difference deficit. You know, I was hoping for one more just so we could be in a positive goal difference. But yeah, I know this is an Aston Villa podcast, although I've been away for a while. I know it's not an Everton podcast, but I feel for them. It's almost become like a gimme now, hasn't it? Beating Everton at Villa Park. You almost turned up there, and if we hadn't have beaten by a few goals, we'd have all been in the depths of despair. But it turned out to be a fairly straightforward win, didn't it, in the end?
We've got a very good record against Everton, especially since promotion. Did the double last season and possibly the year before as well. That's my phone going off now as well. This is live. That was my mum, actually, by the way, so I should probably read that. Yeah, it was a great day at Villa Park, wasn't it? It's lovely to be back. Obviously, me and John have spoken a lot about the Newcastle defeat last week and how there was probably a little bit of an overreaction to that. And the Tara Mings thing was the biggest talking point from last weekend, more so than the 5-1 scoreline itself. But it was important to bounce back today at home. And I said in the preview show that we did that Everton wouldn't score. So hooray for me for actually getting a prediction right. But I did say it might be a conservative 1-0. So I got that part wrong. I did back Villa to win. But I wasn't really bothered whether it was a performance in terms of Villa scoring a couple of goals and controlling the game. It was more just to shake off the negativity from last week and bounce back with the result. But to put in a good performance and score goals and for players like McGinn to chip in with one, John Duran to get his first as well, which is a nice sort of talking point. Just a really nice day out at Villa Park, if nothing else.
Yeah, it was lovely. It was sun was shining, goals going in. I thought the atmosphere was pretty decent, to be honest. It was I think when the clock went up for 9 minutes of stoppage time, I think we all thought, listen, we're all done here now, to be honest. We'll all go home and celebrate and have a drink and that kind of thing. But yeah, it was just very, very routine, and it was very Villa at home that we've come to expect under Unai Emery. And like you said, it was good to see McGinn match his total from last year. Good to see Duran beat his total from last year. And I thought there's some really solid performances. I thought McGinn was the standout player for me. I thought he was showing signs of being back to his best with his energy and the way he used the ball and the way he used his body to get around the pitch. So he was I've not seen John's player ratings, but I'll be surprised if McGinn wouldn't have been up there in his ratings as well.
I will have a quick look for John's ratings. Obviously, we've said a couple of times now for the new season, these post-match reaction shows are going to be 30 minutes, give or take, on a match day evening. And then on a Monday, we'll have a chat as well where John will be on that show. I don't know if you'll be around for tomorrow's, but it'd be nice if we can all get together as a three for that as well and talk about things in more detail. For the game itself, we'll talk about what it was like to be at the game and the atmosphere and things like that in this and the kind of pure reaction, whereas tomorrow or the Monday show, if it's not a Sunday, will be the more kind of analytical look at it, I guess, and certain different talking points. McGinn, though, was the standout for me. I think he did a little move that I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to describe it, but the way he turned with the ball seems like John McGinn's unlocked a new skill move over the summer. Like the way he moved with the ball seemed good. Do you agree with that, or am I just talking silliness there?
I can't. What was that? Constantly or at one
not like
time?
Not like a roulette or anything, like a 360 or whatever you want to call it. But he kind of took the ball and swiveled round a couple of times. It's a terrible description, but I know what I saw.
Which buttons would you have to press on FIFA?
I don't know. Is there any other standout performers in terms of the individual? Because I think there's probably a little bit of a caveat for this game. I thought Everton were terrible as well. I'm not just saying that Villa only scored 4 goals because Everton were rubbish, but I thought Villa played well. But they were, a side that you look at and go, if they don't get a goal scorer, they're going to be in serious trouble this year. Like they don't create anything whatsoever, apart from the couple of good saves that Martinez made. Besides those, you just look at those and think they lost to Fulham last week, lost today, haven't scored a goal in the league yet. They will be in trouble and look poor. But I still think Villa played with their usual kind of swagger and things as well. And McGinn was certainly the standout for me. But I think there was a lot of performances that kind of contributed to the overall game and scoreline without being kind of 9s and 10s out of 10s, like the whole back line. I don't think anyone particularly stood out, but everyone did the job that they had to do. And kind of kept things ticking over simple.
Yeah, I thought Everton looked like a team that had got so fed up at that stat about it being the most played fixture in top flight history that they wanted to end that as soon as possible. They were dreadful, and when Calvert-Lewin went off as well, that made them gave them even less of a threat. But you can only beat what's in front of you. I thought defensively, given what we had to suffer at Newcastle, although we were never going to have to face the same kind of threats, I thought defensively we looked pretty solid. Like you say, Martinez came to the rescue a couple of times. Thought Luca Dean did well, actually.
Could be a nice game for us.
Yeah, and I thought Torres looked, again, he wasn't tested particularly that many times, but he looked a lot kind of calmer and more secure in his surroundings. Yeah, Douglas Luiz, I'm not going to do the usual. Can't really do this, can we, on a half an hour show? But we can go do our usual of going through the whole team. I thought Douglas Luiz was very Douglas Luiz again, very, very reliable. And I think he's definitely got the job now, hasn't he, as penalty taker. He dispatched that one, and I think, he definitely given the next one to take. Probably the only one, and I promise this won't turn into a season of Ollie Watkins bashing, but I felt he looked a bit kind of ragged at times, didn't quite make the right decision. But we know that he does that occasionally, but we also know that he works tirelessly for the team, and we also know that he's going to score his fair share of goals this season. So, yeah, it was. I didn't know what to. I think it's one of those. I've not spoken to you much. Well, certainly not on here in the summer, and I've obviously sensed the real kind of sense of excitement and the optimism bubbling, and I just didn't know how much last week, the injuries to Buendia, the injury to Mings, the battering on the opening day of the season. I didn't know how much that had taken out of the excitement, but I didn't get the sense that Villa were, the fans or the players were particularly nervous today. It was like, okay, got that out of our system, business as usual. We're at Villa Park. We win matches at Villa Park. It was very, like I said, very routine and very expected.
Yeah, it's very, very comfortable. And I think you talked there about the 9 minutes at the end of both halves even, but at the end of the game where it's kind of like, oh, you could just blow up now. Like, let's just put Everton out of their misery. They don't want to play this extra 9 minutes, and it could be an extra 90. I don't think Everton would have scored a goal. But that game was wrapped up really on the 55th minute, 60th minute, whatever it was, when the second goal went. It was like, Everton don't score goals. They're certainly not going to score 2 to get a point here, let alone 3 to win it.
The second goal going in about 20 minutes.
It might have been the third goal then in the second half. Yeah, but you know what I mean? It all just kind of petered out, isn't the right word, but it felt like a bit of this is a training kickabout for Villa here. Like, the atmosphere kind of died down a little bit. We all just were going through the motions to get to the end of the game, and did feel like it dragged on a little bit in terms of the added time and things like that. But like you say, routine against Everton, and we know that when we play Everton towards the start of the season, particularly at Villa Park, we tend to beat them. And like I said, I think they will be in trouble. I've got a little stat for you, actually. Well, I'll say a stat. You're never going to get it because it's more of a guess than anything. But you mentioned it being the most played fixture in English football, and I thought, I haven't seen any of the Sky coverage, but I'll be amazed if they've not mentioned it, because it gets mentioned every time we play. First of which was in September 1888. Matt, I know you were probably there covering it for the local paper, so you've seen them all. Just wanted to guess, it's the 229th game between the two sides today in professional football, according to AVFC Stato. So go in his mentions if he's wrong. Have a guess how many Villa have won out of those 229. Like I said, you're never going to get it, but have a go.
Halfway down the middle, wouldn't it? You'd think about. Well, no, there could be fair few draws in there. How many out of 229?
Yeah.
112.
That's not terrible. 87, apparently, and Everton 82, which is close.
Right, we beat him 87 times in the last 3 or 4 years, I'm sure. Yeah.
Exactly, it feels like that, doesn't it? Yeah, it certainly feels like we beat Everton, and that's a standard. 60 draws, apparently, 87 for Villa and 82 for Everton. 229 games, though, between the two sides. That is some going, isn't it?
You know what I thought the stat was going to be? I thought the stat was going to be, how many times did Anthony Taylor pass the ball today? I thought it was going to be that, because he must have had
some of Everton's best defending broke up the play for
yeah, he did. He was properly in there, getting involved, wasn't
he? Let's talk about the lineup a little bit. And again, when we do these shows and we talk about the lineup, it's always with the hindsight that we feel probably very differently about it at 2 o'clock on an afternoon or 1 o'clock on the afternoon today to how we feel about it at the end of the day. But I think there were probably eyebrows raised for Leon Bailey's inclusion. We did a predicted 11 on Thursday or Friday. and John thought that Emery would play Bailey out on the wing, and there was loads of comments replying to it saying, "Oh, not Bailey, anyone but Bailey. He's had plenty of chances. He's no good." Goal and assist today, and again, the level of opposition. I think last week against Newcastle was probably one of the hardest games we'll have all season, and today was probably one of the easiest we'll have. So take that into account a little bit. But Bailey played well, I thought, and contributed, and seemed to have a bit of a. Obviously, he's not perfect in every instance of his play, but he seemed to have a bit of a spring in his step. Maybe that's the arrival of Nicolo Zaniolo breathing down his neck and thinking, "I've got to start contributing here."
I wonder if it was the arrival of Diaby, because I thought they actually combined quite well. We've probably complained in the past that Bailey doesn't share the ball enough with his teammates, but I think there were a couple of opportunities. There were a couple of occasions or several occasions where they worked well together. It was interesting, wasn't it? The Ashley Young being back, Bailey's absolutely kind of had him on toast, I think, for the opening goal, and great delivery, and McGinn's made a perfectly timed run to stick it away. Yeah, we know Bailey blows hot and cold, but we also know that, we were raving about him, weren't we, a couple of seasons ago, really excited to have him. We know that he scores goals against Everton. Fortunately, he didn't do his hammy. Yeah, he didn't do his hammy after today's one. Thing is, I don't know, with the couple of injury blows we've had, I know they're not necessarily in the same position as Bailey, but with Buendia and with Jacob Ramsey and now Coutinho getting injured, we probably didn't think we would need Leon Bailey this season, because we spoke before, haven't we? You strengthen the first 11 and they become your squad players. We probably didn't think we'd see that much of him, but again, on today's evidence, he's still got a part to play. And, again, we need to see, don't we? I don't think he'll play anywhere near as many games as he did last season. But if that's what, like you said, if the competition for places, if that's what he needs to get him up to that kind of consistent level, then that's what squad building's all about, isn't it?
The injuries is getting slightly annoying now, isn't it? Obviously, Buendia and Mings are the obvious ones. Like, we saw the T-shirts for the Newcastle game for, whatever it was, "We're with you, Emmy," or whatever. Today, the T-shirts out again for "We're with you, Tyrone." Whoever's printing those T-shirts, I hope we don't have to go to them again for a third batch for Coutinho next week, or whoever it might be. These long-term injuries are starting to add up. Coutinho going off looked in pain as well. That looked like a difficult one. I don't know whether his was the one I'm thinking of, but there was a player that went and took the ball and kind of, when two players hit the ball at the same time and one of them kind of swings the leg back. I don't think it was Bailey, but somebody else went down, and you kind of go, every half injury now, you kind of go, well, that could be a bad one, because that's what seems to happen to Villa at the moment. And that will curtail our season in terms of expectations and squad depth, that we probably wouldn't be offering somebody like Bailey loads of games, because you've got Buendia and Coutinho and Diaby and Zaniolo coming in and offering competition there. Two of the three I've just mentioned might not either be here or be injured. And Bailey's thrust back into the first team again, and you haven't really made any progress in terms of squad depth. So if they are to continue playing players that maybe you think should have been improved on, and there'll be others where people think maybe Matty Cash should have been replaced, or whoever, Ollie Watkins, some people will argue should be replaced, which I don't agree with, but the comments this evening are very much anti-Ollie Watkins tonight. If they are going to play and contribute and feature this season, you've got to get behind them and support them, but also they have got to step up their game, and Emery's got to get the best out of them as well, because no matter what Villa do in terms of recruitment so far in the window and for the next kind of 10 days or so, we've got a lot of talent already in that squad that need to kind of up their game. And like you said, if it needs somebody like Zaniolo to come in and make Leon Bailey go, "Ooh, I need to start performing here," then that's what it'll have to be, because these players are going to have to play a lot of games this season if Villa are to go on and be successful.
Yeah, I must admit I felt for Coutinho today, because I thought it was one of those games. Obviously Emery's made several changes with the fixture, the packed fixture list in mind, and trying to rest a few people for the midweek game at Hibs. And I thought it was perfect for Coutinho to get a bit of confidence. You could see it was almost like a showboating cameo. I thought little kind of flicks over his shoulder, dropped the shoulder. I think he'd done a really nice kind of flick about 10 seconds before. And it didn't look good. And I know we spoke about this last season. I can't remember the injury, but it still frustrates the hell out of me, Dan, in terms of the amount of money, time, and effort that goes into looking after every aspect of welfare of these players, the diet, the sleep patterns, the recovery time, the ice baths, all these things, yet they still get players with, injuries that haven't yet properly been assessed, and they make them walk. I know he was supported by a couple of physios, but they make them traipse halfway around the pitch again. And
where's the wheelchairs? That's what you're thinking.
Yeah, we've done it, haven't we? We've done the kind of rickshaw and wheelchairs and Heelys and rollerblades and that kind of thing. But it's. I think the fellow sitting next to me said, "Do they have like these golf carts in Saudi now, or in one of the leagues?" You're missing a sponsorship opportunity there, aren't you? By not getting, a little kind of. But it's a serious point. I just think it's silly, and I think a stretcher can sometimes look too severe. But there could be a halfway house, I think. But
yeah, Bailey went off, and he walked off, and I always tend to think, well, he's walked off. It can't be that bad. And
yeah.
Diego Carlos possibly walk off last season, and then was ruled out for the entire year. You never know, do you? But yeah, to see it took him ages as well, didn't it, Coutinho, to actually get round, injured on the far side and had to walk all the way around. And you do think, get him somewhere, lads. He doesn't have to walk, but they obviously do it for a reason, don't they? Because there are no wheelchairs in the Premier League.
My favourite moment of that was John McGinn bringing the medical bag over. Did you see it?
Yeah,
what a guy!
Leader, physio.
Just know that he'd kind of help old ladies across the road, wouldn't he? And he'd kind of carry your bags for you and that kind of thing. But yeah, that was a nice touch from the captain.
I actually think, and we'll probably talk about this more tomorrow with John, because I want to do we'll do a bit of a Hibs preview for tomorrow's show for Wednesday night. It'll be that game's coming thick and fast. I thought the substitutions were interesting. So there was the triple one. I'm going to forget two here, but Watkins and Luiz came off, and somebody else I've already forgotten. I don't know. Tielemans came on, Diego Carlos and Coutinho. I got 5 out of the 6. Remember the other one?
Did Luiz go off?
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Come on. Luiz, Watkins, the comments let us know. Anyway, it's the first team players, obviously. I wondered whether they are being rested for the first game. How often does Ollie Watkins come
I love the way you just said it was 3 first. What are they going to do? Substitute people on the bench?
But you know what I mean? Like the good players.
Regular.
Yeah.
Yes, anyway, go on. What point were you making? Sorry.
My thought is whether they were... Watkins don't come off, does he? He plays every single minute of every game. Douglas Luiz rarely comes off, not with 15, 20 minutes to go, 30 minutes to go with injury time. Diaby was the other. So, I mean, good players, like the ones you guaranteed to play. Are they coming off because they're being rested to feature against Hibs on Wednesday and we go full strength in the Conference League with the first team? Or are they coming off so that Carlos, Tielemans and Coutinho, before we got injured, are coming on to get some minutes in the leg because they're the ones that are going to be playing on Wednesday? How do you assess my thought there?
Bit of both, I'd have thought. I think he wants to try and get some minutes for some of the subs, but I think it just was the opportunity, wasn't it? Why wouldn't you? We know that players are going to play. What was it today? How many minutes of injury time in both halves?
9 on each. So
they're going to play, what's that, 110 minutes of football twice a week. I just think if you're 2 or 3-0 up against a team that's hardly laid a glove on you, you might as well just use it as an opportunity. What did you think of Duran?
It's funny, isn't he, Duran? There's something about him that I like, and I don't really know why, because we've not seen that much football from him yet, but he seems to be a good personality. Again, I thought his goal celebration was interesting, that all the players seemed buzzing for him. He's got his first goal for us, and it was honestly his first touch for the goal. I think he's ruined this opportunity with his first touch. He's overhit it. But to be fair, it was a good
finish. He did that on purpose. I think he did that to draw Pickford out and bounced it off his knee or something.
Possibly. I dislike Pickford, by the way. I'll get into that in a sec. I like Duran. He offers something. He's clearly a wild card, isn't he? And again, it's something we'll probably talk about more in depth in a week, depending on whether Cameron Archer does end up going. It's interesting that Duran came on before Archer, potentially. That he was like, we're making changes up front. Duran's the man we're going to bring on first rather than Archer. Archer doesn't even come on, does he, if Coutinho doesn't go off, because Chambers was prepped to come on. So Archer, he doesn't come on if not for that injury. So whether there's anything you can read into that or not, who knows? But yeah, there's something about Duran that he's still raw. There's still potential there. I think it's interesting that he's clearly not going to be let out on loan or I'll be surprised at least anyway. He's clearly around the squad. And whatever Villa do in the Conference League, whether he starts or not, he will be involved in that. And hopefully, in those early stages when you're playing lesser opposition, before we get carried away and say that Villa are going to win the lot, Duran should be able to score some goals in that tournament for us and be a bit of a star, possibly. Can you hear that dog barking, by the way? It's doing my head in.
I can't hear it. I'll listen out for it now. Does Ashley Young claim another Villa assist for that goal? I don't think anybody. It was his throw-in, wasn't it? I don't think anybody touched it.
It's just poor from Everton, isn't it? That to have your own throw-in be fumbled at the back, and then the rookie striker goes through on goal as a poor touch, like I said, and still manages to score to put the fire.
He's slotted it quite well. I thought
the finish was good. Yeah. I'm being harsh for the sake of trying to be funny.
Like you say, the celebration was. It meant a lot to him, didn't it? I think he's probably still out there kind of signing autographs and posing for photos. He just didn't want to go in, did he? Bless him. But I think we've said this before a few times, haven't we? But he's almost got that kind of everyman enthusiasm about him. He really, I think he feels really, really privileged to be playing in the Premier League. I'm sure he backs himself and backs his ability, because he should do, especially if you've got a manager like Unai Emery who's prepared to throw you in and give you a chance. But I hope that will just almost, this is just my take on it from a million miles away, but I hope that will give him the confidence to believe that he's rightfully there. He's only a young kid. I know he's a big lad, but he's only a young kid. So hopefully that'll think, yeah, I can do this. I'm meant to be here. And he probably will get a lot more opportunities than he had last season.
Can we use this pro Duran moment to be anti-Cameron Archer for a second without throwing the lad under the bus? Because, to be fair, there's a few comments I've seen on social and in this podcast chat as well that Archer didn't look, and again, this is all of us reading too much into it, probably from however many yards away the seats are from the pitch, that he didn't look that interested when he came on. He looked a bit, I don't know if sulky is the right word, but I don't know. Duran comes on full of smiles and keen to get involved, scores a goal, celebrates like mad. Everyone's loving it. Cameron Archer doesn't really do a lot, looks a bit mopey maybe. And obviously all the talk at the moment is that he's possibly on the way out on a permanent deal with Villa and a buyback clause and whatnot. Again, he wasn't due to come on, was he? Callum Chambers was literally getting ready in front of him. Coutinho goes down and they go, right, we need you. And he might be thinking, well, I'm leaving on Monday. I don't want to get injured or whatever, possibly. I like Cameron Archer and there's clearly a talent in there, but if he was to stick around, when he comes on, I want to see him bustling around full of energy, smile on his face, scoring goals, not like, I've got to go and play football. Like, if that's the case, stick John Duran on.
I must admit, I didn't. I'm gonna play the fifth there and just deny all. I didn't watch his body language close enough, to be honest. But it's a weird one, isn't it? To be honest, the Cameron Archer swingometer is a weird place, because he does. Was it Sheffield United he's been linked with?
Yeah, 20 million.
So if he does make this move and he suddenly scores a couple of goals for them, all of a sudden it'll swing back and it'll be the best thing since sliced bread. I think it's. I'd keep them both around if it was up to me, but I think Villa want to be quite shrewd in terms of, if they can get decent fees for some of the fringy players, they will do it. And the buyback clause is a new thing for Villa, isn't it? It's almost like a kind of a big club small print that we haven't really been aware of before. So I don't know. I wouldn't say, John Duran is now kind of king of the world and Cameron Archer couldn't care less. I don't think it's as simple as that. And I think when Cameron Archer does know his fate, and if he is to still stay at Villa because a move doesn't happen, I think he'll be super motivated because he's a professional young man.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you've not been, as far as I know anyway, you've not been to any of the friendlies. You weren't in America anyway, I know that at least. So, like me...
Oh, don't rub it in.
No, I wasn't either. I was about to say we weren't at Newcastle either. So was that your first experience of seeing Villa in the flesh this season?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, same, and it will be for most people that weren't.
Mike, you're painting me out to be a real fair weather fan now, aren't you?
No, but you're a fair weather fan because you didn't go to the US tour.
I only go for the 4-0 wins. I can't be asked for the 5-1 defeats. So they don't do it for me.
Yeah, that's true. I just wanted to get your thoughts quickly on the new boys as a whole. Probably you mentioned Torres is an interesting one because I feel like at the moment it's just that you don't really notice him, which is fine. Like I'm okay with that as a centre half to not that he's not involved, but he's not made any mistakes or anything. So we're not talking about, oh, Torres is this, Torres is that. He just does his job, and that's fine. Tielemans obviously came on against Newcastle as well in obviously an awkward game in terms of what happened with Mings, and we're already losing and whatnot, playing on the left as well, which doesn't suit him, unfortunately, because I did wonder whether he could do a job out there when Ramsey and whoever else is injured. And there's a way of getting him into the team. But Diaby is the one really that I want to talk about a little bit. Obviously, he scored last week on his Premier League debut. Could have scored a great volley today. Yeah. that chance was, to be fair, as much as I don't like Pickford, it was a good save. My first initial thought was that he just hit the post, and that would have been an unbelievable goal. But yeah, good save. Diaby looks dangerous though, doesn't he? No matter what, whether he's involved in every passage of play or whatnot, just having a player that's got that pace, and when he does get through, he's also got the ability to finish as well. He looks a serious talent, doesn't he? And I don't know whether you've seen our season preview. You probably haven't. I've got him down as being my top scorer this season in the Premier League. I think he'll score more than Watkins to join the anti-Watkins chat.
Yeah, when I watched the season preview back to front, I did think. I haven't
what else did I say?
I don't know, something about me having a big bald head or something. I don't know. I think on Diaby, you've just frozen for me. You're still there on Diaby. I'm surprised what a unit he is, really. I think he's a kind of, without sounding like a weirdo, he's a kind of really good physical specimen, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's almost kind of sprinter's physique, I think, not in a kind of Adama Traore way, but he looks like any worries that you'd have about him adapting to the pace and physical. Well, not the pace, obviously, because he's rapid, but the physicality of the Premier League. He looks like he can handle himself. He looks like he's brave enough to go through spaces between two defenders and not really care whether he's clattered, basically. You know, that's what I like about him, the fact that he's got that kind of that power about him as well. But his quality, and I'm with you, I thought that had hit the post. I thought, but Pickford's got a good hand on that. I think whether he'll be top scorer, I don't know, but I think he adds a different dimension to Villa. I think we know that Emery can build through the phases, you know, through the parts of the team, but that explosiveness, I think, is something that gives us an added threat. So, yeah, I'm a big fan. The other thing I was going to say to you was, I tell you what I was dreading today, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. You know, the bit of the Holt end that's got
the terrace view.
Is that? Yeah, that's. I think when I've seen it in pictures with an empty Villa Park, I think it looks a bit incongruous. I think it looks like, it's a big word, isn't it, for the Clan Blue Pocket? I think it sticks out a little bit, but it didn't look too bad. I'm not massively in favour of anything like that being in the Holt end, but I'll tell you what it looked like. Do you know those kind of bird watchers boxes that are hidden? They're almost like camouflage.
Yeah.
In the kind of undergrowth or whatever. I think they've done it as sympathetically as they can. Yeah. I wonder what you thought about it.
I'm with you a little bit that don't tamper with the whole end, like leave it is. It's a special stand and whatnot. But I also understand the other side of it that you and me spoke about probably the last podcast that we did together when we did the season tickets thing in May or whenever that was.
We did together.
No, I'm joking. It feels like it though. And we were kind of saying, like, if you want to be a club that goes places, these things are going to come in at some point because you have to keep up your revenue streams and whatnot. I've seen some things on social media on the way back. I don't know whether they're true or not, but they're kind of like, there's almost like two sets of fans clashing heads, that like the normal fans versus the posh terrace view fans going against each other. As like, why have you paid for that? Why are you ruining my whole end? And them almost like gloating back again. Don't know whether it's true, but if it is, get over yourselves. It's not relevant at all.
Yeah.
What I will say is,
all done.
Exactly that. And if someone wants to go and spend however much it is for the terrace view, go for it. Absolutely. Like I said,
I have heard though that if you want a premium seat in the dugout with a roof on, you have to pay more.
What's all that about the dugout in a sec? The terrace view thing, whatever. I don't really care. I saw a lot of moaning about how it looks. Shrug of the shoulders for those that are only listening is what I've just done. It's just whatever. When the stadium is full, I forgot it was even there. It is what it is. The dugout thing, I wanted to mention this in terms of like atmosphere as well, and I'm going to only come at this from a what's the word? Like, I'm guessing, whatever the proper word for that is. I saw something with Newcastle in the week that they've had to change their dugouts to comply with Champions League rules. So I don't know whether Villa have had to change theirs to comply with the Conference League rules. I don't know what that would be, whether they'll have to be a certain size or allocate certain seats for extra press, or I don't know what it is. I just thought it might be a coincidence that Villa are in Europe and are now tinkering with the dugout. I mean, they've got to have a roof on it, though, haven't they? Because they're going to get wet when it rains.
Did you, because you sit quite close to the dugout, is anything, all I noticed was that it didn't have a roof on it, but was any other kind of configuration any different? Or were the seats, because, on stadium tours, when I'm sure you've done the Villa Park tour, you sit in that dugout and it throws me how low down you are. You're almost kind of just a floating head at the pitch level. So I wondered, has it been raised at all? Has Emery's seat been raised at all to give me a better perspective? Or is it just, they've just knocked the roof off it?
It's a great question, a great investigative journalism question. I don't know.
We'll ask John tomorrow.
Exactly. I can't tell from the angle of where I'm at. I can kind of look over people's heads and see more of the players now, but that's because I'm not looking through a plastic piece of perspex or whatever it is, and I can see so and so's about to. I can see him taking his top off rather than it kind of being hunched over in the arch of the plastic or whatever. So I don't know whether it's anything like that. It'll be interesting to find out, just as a bit of a note to go, oh, this is why. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was something to do with Conference League rules being different, because Newcastle, like I said, have had to change theirs because of Europe as well. And maybe Brighton is one to look out for. Does anyone know if Brighton have changed their dugouts for the Europa League? Let us know in the comments below.
Anorak thing, isn't it? Oh, I can't wait till I see Brighton on the telly just so I can find that out.
Yeah.
There's got to be some wise guy in the comments who knows the reason, who's got more information than us anyway. So.
Hopefully, and this is exactly why we're doing a Monday show every single week, where we'll talk about things. It could be another chat about the game itself, or it could be 5 or 6 topics that we've missed, or things that happen. So less likely with tonight and tomorrow morning, but things that happen between the post-match show and the next day that somebody says something stupid on Match of the Day and we want to go and talk about it. That's what tomorrow's show is for. So we'll go away and do some digging, see if we can find out, not literally to the dugout, to see what happened to the dugout at Villa Park. Just very quickly before we go, because we said we wanted to do half an hour and we've done just over that. What did you think of the atmosphere? Obviously, first game of the season, it's nice to be back. Everything looks nice and new and shiny. But I did think it was a touch flat just because we were comfortably winning. And it was just, like I said, going through the motions a bit.
Yeah, I didn't get in till about 30 seconds after kickoff because I was watching the England Lionesses game with my daughter and her under-13s. The atmosphere there was great, to be honest, at Halezone Cricket Club. So I don't know what the pre-match was like. Has anything changed about the pre-match, Dan?
So this is what I was going to talk about. I thought you'd have seen it. So this is the conversation I usually have with John. There was a new swanky video before the kickoff, which I thought was pretty good. It was the music from, I think, and someone will correct me if I'm wrong, the film Inception. Where it's like, blah, blah, not that dramatic like that music. It was that, I think.
What was it again, Dan?
Blah, that thing. And have you seen the clips that Villa have tweeted a few times where they've got all like the flags in the background and it's Emery like folding his arms in slow motion and all that kind of thing? It was like a video of all those cut together, and then the music went boom, and Emery came on, and the lion was roaring, and I was like, "Oh, that was pretty good." And they had the fireboxes.
You need that for a cold night in Europe, though.
Yeah, it certainly looks better for that.
Yeah, a procession against Everton in the sunshine.
Yeah, they did the light show again. It doesn't quite work in the daylight, but the thought's there. They had the big fireboxes down the Doug Ellis side, and for the players walking out, they had like puffs of smoke or whatever. So, the players walk out diagonally from the tunnel. There was like 3 boxes on each side. And as the players went out, it was like going...
All right.
Which I thought that was interesting. There's a picture on my Twitter of that. So I like that Villa... We've spoken about this before. I like that Villa are trying things, but those things, like you said, the light show and those like flashy videos and stuff will look great against Hibs for the nighttime fixture when it's starting to get a little bit darker, 8 p.m. or whatever the kickoff is. But yeah, nice. It's a shame that we're not back at Villa Park for a Premier League game until the middle of September. Yeah. But it is Hibs next Thursday. Are you going to that? Are you going to it?
I'll be there, yes. I shall be there. My son's really excited about seeing some continental opposition. So
Scottish Hibs.
Hopefully we'll have done. I don't want to get carried away because it's not necessarily something we can't take for granted. But hopefully we'll have done. We'll go into the second leg with from a decent position from the first leg.
I was talking about this on the way back. Well, we'll let us go in a second. And I always knew we were going to run over. The tickets to secure your place for your season ticket seat is tomorrow. So if anyone didn't know that, by the way, tomorrow at 5:00 to secure your season ticket seat. Haven't done mine yet, and I didn't know it was that soon, so I will be doing it, I think. But we were saying, like, I think it's 30 quid where we are, which again is whatever. some people might think that's expensive. Some people think it's okay. But I was thinking, because we're in the second leg, how would you feel about it if we beat, and again, we are getting carried away here, what if we batter Hibs in the first leg? Would you then think, oh, I wish I hadn't bothered with the second? Or you still would be excited to go and see Villa play nice football?
Just think it's... Listen, we had 3 years in the Championship, so we saw a lot of different opponents. But I just like to see different teams come to Villa Park occasionally. So, well, we haven't booked anywhere yet, but I'm supposed to be going away a week on. So that week, but we're now going to have to. We weren't going to go abroad anyway, but wherever we go, I'm going to have to come back for the Thursday. So I'm torn whether. Sorry, I know we're going over, and this is my domestic situation, but I need to go somewhere that's far enough away from here so it's a change of scenery, but not too far, so I can get back on the Thursday, and then potentially I'll stay at home on the Thursday and then drive back on the Friday. So if anybody's got any suggestions,
Cornwall.
Oh, we've done that in one day in the past, haven't we? No, probably somewhere nearer. Bewdley.
Yeah, my neck of the woods. That's what I like it. Lovely little place, Bewdley. I think we'll call it a day there. By the way, I'm not saying that we will batter Hibs in the first leg. I actually think there'll be something riding on the second leg. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that will be... I said it about Everton, that it might be a bit closer than we think. I think the Hibs will actually give us a decent game at their place, and I'll actually expect the Hibs game on Wednesday night to be more difficult than the game we played at Villa Park this afternoon. So I think there will be something riding on that second leg. Matt, thank you for coming back on the show. I've seen a few comments and people asking, where are you? You've had a summer break. You're back now, though. Villa's first home game of the season. Like I said, we're doing a show tomorrow morning as well, or tomorrow afternoon possibly, so I'll be out at some point tomorrow. John will be on that one with me, and I don't know if you are around. It'd be good to get us as a three, like I said, but we'll see how things go, just to talk about things in a bit more detail, and not live either, so we can kind of look at numbers and check things rather than just waffling our way through a live stream. Thanks everyone for joining and watching along live on Saturday evening. We will be back on Wednesday night for the Hibs post-match show. The kickoff is 5:45. I'm not sure about it being on telly yet, so I will investigate for that, because I've scanned through the BT Sport fixture list on Sky and it's not actually showing up on there yet, so we'll keep an eye out for whether that is broadcast or not, but there will be a post-match show regardless. So like I said, Monday, tomorrow there'll be something new, Wednesday night, and then it'll be Burnley this time next week as well, where we'll be back for that. Matt, thanks for joining me. Thanks everyone for tuning in as always, and we'll see you again tomorrow.